Hi everybody, my name is Angie Hotz. I'm a birth doula and a childbirth educator here in Kitsap County, and I am doing a project where I'm listening to moms' birth stories. Yay! And this is Holly, and she's going to tell us her awesome birth story.
Hello, I'm Holly. I recently had a baby.
Very cute baby.
He's over there. We'll bring him on later. So I had my baby almost 8 months ago at Harrison Hospital in Silverdale, and my doctor was Nancy Bohannon. And do I just start from? Crystal Gurney was my doula.
Mm-hmm.
Angie was my Bradley instructor, and I had my husband, and that was my team.
Mm-hmm.
I also went to see a chiropractor for those last few weeks because I was pretty uncomfortable. So she counts as part of my team.
Who'd you see?
Michelle Gipp, and she's in Paulsbo. She was recommended to me by Crystal. And I got massages, but that was just at Massage NB. And they switched my therapists around, so. But that was really nice too during pregnancy. They count. Everyone counts as part of the team. Okay, so should I just from the beginning? Yeah. So I had a little bit of false labor a few days before he was born. He was born on a Tuesday, and on Thursday, I was just in bed, and all of a sudden I was wet, and I went, uh-oh, did my water just break? And I had a few mild contractions, but not much of anything was really happening. And it wasn't like a ton, it was just like a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I had a doctor's appointment scheduled for 8 a.m. the next day. So Cody came home from work, and we I guess you're gonna come up now.
Cutie patootie.
You wanna sit in between us? Hey. Smile, you're on
Hi.
camera. And
You've fallen over.
he's squishy. There you go. We did like some of the spinning baby circuit, like walking around, trying to kind of get things going. Some nipple stimulation, which really brought on the contractions, like super hard. But like as soon as we stopped, they would stop. So I was like, well, let's just go to bed. It just kind of petered out. And the next morning, and I had called the labor and delivery at Harrison, and they're like, well, I think you should come in. And I was like, I don't know if this is really labor. I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. And I knew, like, if that was my water breaking, I had like 24 hours before. I don't think I was strep B positive. I can't remember now. Those are the little details that you're like, I don't know. So the next morning we went in. My appointment was like super early. It was at 8 a.m. Super early for me.
That's early. That's super early.
And went in and told my doctor, I was like, I think my water broke, but I was having some contractions, but then they stopped. And she was a little upset with me. She's like, what? You should have gone in. And I was like, well, I didn't. So I think she was also a little stressed because she was late coming into our appointment, and we just heard some chatter in the hallway that were like, oh, like I think someone's labs had gotten lost or mixed up. And so I don't think she was really mad at me. I think she was just, it was another thing on top of an already stressful morning. Something had already happened before 8 a.m. for her. So that's a rough morning. And who knows how many deliveries she probably,
maybe she was up all night.
Maybe she was up all night and then some, I don't know. So she swabbed me though and was like, well, it definitely wasn't amniotic fluid. So I was like, well, something came out. I don't know what it was. But so then Tuesday morning at about 5 a.m., Cody was getting up for work, and I started having some mild contractions every 20 or 30 minutes. They were super sporadic. It was just kind of like, I could handle it. They weren't that bad. So I told Cody, I was like, well, maybe this is a false alarm again. Just go to work. I'll call you if they get worse. And he's like, okay, cool.
And how far away?
He works in the shipyard, so he's about 40 minutes away. Yeah, we're up in Paulsbo. But I think him going to your class helped him a lot because he knew, like, okay, we have lots of time, you know, like he wasn't that stereotypical, like, oh my gosh, we gotta go to the hospital now. Like, he wasn't scared. He was like, okay. So he went and I labored by myself because they were steady. They were far apart, but they were still happening. I watched some Parks and Rec out here on the couch, kind of played around on the birth ball a little bit, and then around like 10 or 11 he called to check in and see how I was doing, and they were getting a little closer together and a little more intense. And so I was kind of like, I don't know if you should come home, I don't know. And then he's like, why don't I come home? Because I think he could tell, like, I think that was one point when I was like, I started to get a little scared because, like, I think on the phone with him, I must have had like a kind of intense one that was like, okay, I can't do this by myself anymore. I need you here. So
I could hear that.
I think he could sense that even more than I could. I think the whole thing feels like a Twilight Zone. Like, it really
Time doesn't match up.
Time doesn't match up, and it's almost like when you've had too much to drink and you're just, everything's kind of fuzzy and you're not 100% sure what was going on, and people are like, oh, this thing happened, and you're like, wait, what? What thing? What are you talking about?
Hormones. Drunk on hormones.
Oh, speaking of hormones, I was hot and cold the whole time.
The whole time?
The whole time, which was awful. But it was like the chills, and then like when you have a fever, you know, you get the chills and you're freezing and you cannot get warm no matter how many blankets you put on. And then 10 minutes later, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so hot, I'm dying. And so that just made the whole thing really uncomfortable. And that was one of those things that I was like, I didn't expect that. I didn't remember that from the class. If we talked about it.
Well, it's usually transition stuff, not the whole thing.
Yeah. No, it was
at the end. It's hot and cold.
Yeah, because that was bummer. Because so we kept laboring at home, and I closed my eyes a lot. I used those breathing beads you gave me. Nice. Those are super helpful. I still use them now if I know I'm walking into a stressful situation. Like, I go to the doctor, I'm like, I need my beads. Where are my beads? I think before he got home, I had made like a labor playlist, but I didn't listen to it that much. What really surprised me too, the thing that I wanted to listen to most was like hymns.
Oh yeah?
And yeah, which is weird because I grew up in church, but I grew up in like a happy clappy church. So we never sang hymns. Like, I didn't really learn hymns until like my 20s. So that was really like, oh, this is weird. But it was kind of like, I think I mentioned this in class, but I'm before the pregnancy and during the pregnancy and still now, going through kind of like a faith shift and things that I was sure of, I'm not sure of anymore, and it's super frustrating.
It's not gonna come off, dude. Here.
Because
that's just frustrating you.
You want mommies?
There you go.
Ooh,
hey, that's cool
that
how
one's
that
new. I know. But like,
so were you feeling that like in labor, that shift? Or were you?
No. That has just been like an ongoing thing for like a couple years now. But like a hymn, the one I remember listening to was hi, sticking your foot up. It's the one that was like, Jesus, I surrender all. You know, nice. I was really focused on like that surrendering to what's happening. And trusting that it's gonna be okay, and yeah, so that was interesting. And then Cody came home. We still didn't have our hospital bag totally packed because there were things like my pajamas. I wear those every night. Like, I can't pack those until it's like we're about to leave. Or we had a lot of stuff like that, and they were getting more intense. I tried to eat. It did not go well. Like, it was this, I think 2 or 3 times I would eat a little bit, I would drink a little bit, and within 20 minutes I'd throw up.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a bummer.
And so then I'd feel better, like I'd throw up, and then Cody would swap out my vomit bucket.
Good
And
man.
I'd eat a little
Good
more,
man.
and I'd drink a little more, and I'd throw up 20 minutes later. And I was just like, I'm trying to help you, body. You're working so hard. And so yeah, like it started getting more intense. So we called Crystal, and she actually came over here, and she was talking, and she's like, oh, you're handling this so well. You're doing so well. And I'm like, okay, good, 'cause this is hard. And she's like, well, I think you can keep laboring at home. I don't think you're super close yet, or whatever, you know. And she's like, you'll know when you need to go to the hospital. And
How far are you away from the hospital?
we were about
20?
15 minutes, yeah. 15,
Okay.
15 if you speed.
Yeah.
15 if your wife's having a baby. Maybe 12. So I think it was about 4 o'clock-ish that in the afternoon, that I started feeling more intense, but I couldn't decide. I couldn't figure out. I was like, I don't know if I need to go to the hospital. And so Cody got back on the phone with Crystal, and he's like, she doesn't, and he was like trying to ask me questions, and I was like, I don't know. Getting mad at him, and she's like, you should get her to the hospital now. Like, go now. But we got there, and we got in. They got me in the little room. The first vaginal exam I had was awful. Awful. I just, the provider who did it was just really, really rough. So it was like, I did not like that.
Well, you wonder, why is this person
doing
this job?
She was, I didn't enjoy that. And so,
because you're still having contractions.
Because I'm still having contractions. And she finishes up, and she's like, well, you're 100% effaced, but you're 2 centimeters. And I was like,
not what you wanted to hear.
I died a little bit inside, because it had been almost 12 hours, and I was getting tired, and I was just like, I'm only 2 centimeters, and they're gonna send me home. Like, no. So they left. They were like, well, we can give you 45 minutes to an hour and see if you progress. And you were really liking that, aren't you? Said nummy. Okay, don't swallow it. And so at that point, because Crystal met us at the hospital, she's like, why don't you try laboring on your hands and knees? I did a lot of sitting. I did a lot of laying down while I was here, just because they were just intense, and it was like, I don't want to move right now. I just want to be still and conserve my energy, because I know this is early, and I need to have energy to do stuff later. So I got on my hands and knees, and that was a very productive position for me, because about 45 minutes later, the hospitalist came in, and thankfully she did my exam, not the other lady. Although Crystal was like, oh, you should have the other lady, because then it'll be like the same kind of thing. Yeah, consistent. But so the hospitalist did it. Oh, where'd your pinky go?
Is it under the book? I saw blue somewhere.
There we go. And the hospitalist does my exam, which was much better.
Nice.
And I was 8 centimeters.
Whoa.
I was like, wait, I went from 2 to 8 in 45 minutes? Is that a thing? People do that? Like, what? Because I was even considering at that point, getting some morphine. So Crystal was like, yeah, you can get a shot of morphine and go home and take a nap. And I was like, if I haven't progressed, I'm doing, forget drug-free. I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired. But at that point, it's like, oh, okay, I don't need the morphine. Let's do this. It's party time. So I got to my room. I was really excited, because that meant I could get in the tub. I was like, I want to labor in the water. Get me in the tub. But it didn't really do much. It was nice because it was the water, but I kind of stalled out a little bit at 8. And then my doctor had just finished up a delivery an hour or 2 before, gotten some dinner, and then came back for me. And so she walks in the room, and she was like, well, sounds like things are going well. If you want, I can break your waters and you will probably have a baby within a half hour. And I was like, oh, I need 10 minutes to think about that and talk about that with my team, please. Because that was like they were already intense, and I knew it was going to get more intense with that. So I was like, no, I need a minute. So they cleared the room, and I looked at Crystal and Cody, and Crystal, like, just very gently was like, sweetie, you're going to have to push the baby out at some point. And we kind of, it was one of those, they're really, there weren't really many, like, risks kind of with her breaking my waters. I was already so far along and stuff, and it would just...
No, it's a great tool, especially when you're like 8
you're like 8 centimeters and just barely there, and
it just kind of pushes you over the edge a little bit, you know?
So, it made a lot of sense, even though, like, I was like a little nervous, but I was like, okay, she's right, I do have to push this baby out, and it was if we did it then, I wouldn't get more tired, you know, like trying to progress on my own. Like I was just gonna exhaust myself. See mommy's necklace, and so we did it. We said go time, and she broke. Oh, I also started humming at the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in the little triage room. I did this like weird, like to get through a contraction. It was like. And like the non-laboring half of my brain was like, you look like an idiot, what are you doing? And the laboring half was like, shut up, it's helping, it's working, quiet you,
do the thing.
do the thing. And so I think I was not one of those dignified pregnant ladies. I was one of those loud ones.
There are.
Well, they look like it in those videos. The ones that are like edited with the nice like hipster music or whatever. Like those make it seem so nice, but they edit out all the sound. Birth is loud sometimes, isn't it? Yeah.
I've discovered that suggesting that if you can't focus on relaxing your body, then you can focus on your voice.
Yeah.
So focus on something else instead of like what's going on.
Vocalizing
here.
definitely helped me. And I would like go up step levels. I'd be like, and then it would get more intense, and I'd be like, I was a choir kid.
There you go.
So she broke my waters. I was really surprised how much came out.
Yeah.
Like I was soaked from head to toe, it felt like, and I was so sweaty. Oh my gosh, birth was just like, I was just wet. I was just moist the entire time. Yeah. And at that point, like in my birth plan, I had said like, oh, I want to wear my own clothes, because I have like a phobia of like hospitals and needles, and it was just like, ugh. And I do remember getting out of the bathtub before my doctor broke my waters. They'd given me a hospital gown. At that point, I was like, I don't care. I don't care what I wear. You know, like it didn't matter at that point. And I do remember my gown was starting to like fall open in the back, and the nurses were like, oh, sweetie. And I was like, don't care. You were labor and delivery nurses. You have literally seen it all. Like, yeah.
Funny.
Yeah. Uh-oh, binky down. And so she broke my waters, and like as she was breaking it, she's like, oh, you're like 9.5, honey. And I was like, oh, and then like it got more intense. I think I had Cody pray with me before, and that was something I did not remember at all, but Crystal was taking a few pictures with my phone, and like I found this, and I was like, what is this? What's happening here? Aww. And it's like the sweetest picture of us like sitting on the bed and my big old belly, and so I'm definitely gonna spring for a birth photographer next time. Like we just had a big tax bill come that month, so but next time. So yeah, and then I think I started pushing, like, then it was go time, and pushing was definitely the hardest part. Pushing was the point when I was like, okay, I wish I had something. I wish I had drugs, because I'd gone without drugs up until that point, and it had been hard, but it had been doable.
Manageable,
Like, yeah, you know, with breathing and with relaxing and with like Crystal and Cody there, like encouraging me, like it was like, no, I can do this. But the pushing, I think I pushed for 45 minutes is what Cody said. I had no concept of time at that point. And it just was so hard. And there was one push. He also had his hand up by his head, so it took, like, he was just kind of stuck a little bit. And after one push, I started to lose it a little, and I started to like cry and like, I can't do this, I can't. And Crystal just looks at me and she's like, Holly, look at me, like the like drill sergeant Doula part, not the oh, it's gonna be okay, sweetie. The like, no, you're gonna do this. And she's like, yes,
pull yourself together.
Can. Basically, she's like, yes, you can. Now here's what you're gonna do, and like laid out a game plan and like told me how to breathe, because I was pushing with the contractions, and they were like, push harder, and I'm thinking, this is the hardest I can push. Like, I am pushing.
Right.
What do you want me to do? But she had me breathe like I was going underwater, you know, like taking a big breath. And then like I was going underwater, and that helped a lot. I started like progressing more, and so I do remember I was in bed and they had the fetal like monitor on my belly, and this one nurse would adjust it after every freaking contraction. I wanted to slap her. I wanted to slap her so hard.
They like to
it was just
listen after every contraction.
So frustrating. So that's one of the little things that I definitely, we did, a part of why we went to the hospital was just insurance purposes, and you know, it was my first pregnancy. I didn't want to switch providers if I didn't have to and stuff, and we considered switching providers at like 30-something weeks, but decided I really liked Dr. Bohannon. Dr. Bohannon was worth the little dumb things that I didn't like at Harrison. You know, like overall, they really were respectful of my birth plan. They didn't offer me like medication at any point.
Oh, that's good.
They all kind of just stood back and let like Crystal and Cody like be my team, you know. And then complimented both of them afterwards. They're like, you guys were such a great team.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was nice. And what? Okay, so where am I? So I'm pushing, and I think they told me 4 or 5 times, we can see his head. He's almost here. Almost here. And after like the 4th or 5th time, I was like, the next person to tell me he's almost here is gonna get a boot up their ass. Like, I don't care that he's almost here. Just tell me when he's here, when he gets here. I wanted to punch somebody because I was like, I don't care. And you know, and they're like, reach down, touch his head. And for me, it was more disheartening to touch him because he felt so far back, and I was like, I'm pushing so hard, and he's only right there. Like he's still like, because I had to reach like in to touch him, you know. Yeah. And so I felt that ring of fire for sure.
Yeah.
He was a 9-pound baby. He was big. I think I can't remember how big his head was, but it was probably fairly large. What else? And so I just kept pushing till it's done. You know, it was kind of, I think at that point you just had to take everything 1 second at a time, even, because that's all there was. There was no present. There was no past, and there was no future. There was just that moment I was in, and having to get through that. And like I said, I closed my eyes for every contraction. So then it was, when he finally came out, like, it was like I had my eyes closed, and then he came out, and then I opened them, and they're like handing me my baby, and I was just like, oh, whoa, like immense relief that I was done, that he was out, you know.
It's always an overload too to have all of that light come in and
and it was
input and a baby
and a baby that is your baby that is, and he came out screaming, he came out pooping, like I was covered in almost every bodily fluid known to man.
More fluids for
more
you.
fluids, so much fluids. And then it was just lying there like, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I'm done. I get why women do the drugs, because that was so hard. That was so, I just kept thinking that was the hardest thing I've done in my entire life. And I can't imagine anything being harder than childbirth. I really can't. Like, nothing. I just
I'm
can't
with you.
imagine.
I can't either.
And so yeah, we had him on my chest. They did keep asking, like every 10 or 15 minutes, they're like, oh, you want us to bathe and weigh him down? And I was like, no, a few more minutes. I wanted to hold him, it just kept saying a few more minutes. And then my doctor was stitching me up, and that took a little bit of time because I did tear like a third, partial fourth, I think.
Wow.
It was, that's the part that I felt, and I was like, I want something to numb this. And so I think they were a little worried about that. So they did give me,
because of his hand?
Yeah, because the nuchal hand. And so as soon as he popped out, all that force of that, like Moro reflex, like wham! And, that was painful. You were worth it.
Yeah, and you don't have the same hormones that you get when you're pushing and having a baby. Once the baby's out, you don't get those anymore.
And they gave me Pitocin to kind of stop the bleeding, because I was bleeding a lot and stuff. Like, again, at that point, it was like, I don't care. I don't, I was nervous about getting an IV, but it was one of those things that I was like, this isn't a make or break for me. I can get an IV. It's not that big of a deal. And
and afterwards too, it's
it's
different. It's like a different process.
Yeah, and so they gave me the Pitocin. They stitched me up. I got to see my placenta. They're like, "You want to see your placenta?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to see it." It was really squishy. I wish they had it in like a Tupperware container or something though. So it was kind of like, it just looked like this red blob, bloody mass, Well, I couldn't like see like the placenta, So maybe next time. Maybe we'll get a better look at it next time. And I did. It might seem like super cheesy or silly, but I sang to him like I said, choir kid for life.
No, knowing you, I would be surprised if you didn't.
And theater kid, during the pregnancy, because I wore this necklace during labor too. Yeah,
cool.
So it says fearless.
Nice.
And this, like, there was a lot of fears, not even just pregnancy related, but with other stuff too. Other life. We all got stuff, you know. Just working through a lot of fears during the pregnancy, like the space shift I've been going through too, and that new Adele CD that came out, the latest one. There was a song on there called Remedy, and I just, like, the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, this is my life right now. This is like my life. It just encapsulated just the entire pregnancy and where I felt like I was at. And so I made Cody go get my phone, and I like sang, and Crystal even took like a little 30-second video.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was...
See, that's why you need a doula. To take pictures of you praying with your husband, and pictures of you singing to your baby, or video of you singing to your baby.
No, and it was great. Like, I loved the video. The only problem was with the nurses. Like, and Crystal told me later, she's like, I was so mad at the nurses because they were just like chatting the whole time. And Crystal was like, this mom is having a moment with her baby. Shut up. It is what it is, and it's still it still happened. I still have it. I still have that memory, and birth hormones made it so that I didn't think people were talking. There was nothing in that moment but like me and my baby, and like that's singing to my little baby, and even like a few weeks postpartum, I was in his room folding clothes, and that song came on my phone, and I just started like weeping because like every emotion of birth came flooding back in that moment. it was just crazy how that song is now forever attached to his birth, and maybe it'll be our mother-son dance if we get married someday, huh?
There you go.
That would be nice. I'll probably weep the whole time too.
Probably. So you think that was probably your favorite like moment?
Yeah, I think that was like the most special moment, you know, because it was kind of it wasn't painful, which was really nice.
Yeah.
No, it's just a very sweet, special moment, and doing that was like, I definitely want to do this with my other babies. I want them to have a song, and I want to be able to sing to them, and that's my thing. It's Holly, you know, it fits. And so, yeah, you came and visited me the next day. It definitely, I felt weak after childbirth. Yeah. Like I felt just splayed open, raw is probably a good way to describe it, you know, that because you literally are like so raw. Yeah. Like they had to put a catheter in me at like 3 a.m. He was born at 11 something p.m. So he was about 17 hours. Yeah. Which isn't too bad. Like no, could have been longer. It's a long time. But I was like 15 hours is the average. Yeah. So I was like, well, I'm right about average, you know. And yeah, just feel like the position I had kind of been like reclined on my back and holding my legs up, and so my lower back was sore for a few days. Yeah. Like I remember coming home and taking my first shower, which was a religious experience. Yeah. After being covered in all of those fluids. But I also I was on my hands and knees in the shower because I couldn't stand fully upright for more than a minute or so at a time. Like I've never been very physically fit or active. I don't run. I'd rather eat cake. Cake. I mean, you know. So I mean, and I worked out a few times a week. I did water aerobics at the Y, but
birth is.
It's such a physical event. Yeah. What?
For a long time too.
Yeah.
You have teeth in there. Look at you.
4 teeth.
2 on the bottom too. You can't see those. Oh, there they are.
You hungry?
Cutie patootie.
Here. I know, you just want to see Angie.
What? So what would you do differently next time, do you think?
I definitely want to try a birth center next time. I liked my doctor more than I liked Harrison. And a lot of what I didn't like about Harrison was the aftercare, was them waking me up at 4 a.m. the next morning to take a blood draw, or and then bruising my arm, or we had to move. There was also it didn't feel like they were coordinating care, because the second we stayed an extra day because I'd born bad, and I was like, yeah, I want people to take care of me. Right? I'm fine with that. And so the morning, we were going to leave, we had it had been a rough night with him, it was only the second night, and so he was tired and we were tired, and we had there was an alarm going off outside our door, just a test of the code red emergency system. Nice. And I'm like, there is a newborn baby. Y'all better shut the baby. I mean, it didn't bother him too much, but it bothered us.
It bothered you, yeah.
They had our nurse would come in and check his vitals and upset him but then calm him down and get him swaddled and get him back to sleep. And then the hospital photographer came in 5 minutes later and was like, hey! And we're like, no, we're fine. Go away. Go. We don't need any. Go away. And then a couple minutes later, the heart lady comes in. She's like, oh, I gotta do this heart test. Is now a good time? And we're like, no, it's not. And then our pediatrician comes in and is unswaddles him, and it's and all he does is check his vitals. And I'm like, you can't look at the nurse's notes from 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So that was frustrating. Just feeling like they weren't all on the same page. It's just so big. Everyone kind of has their own agenda and their own this is my job.
They chart everything.
Yeah.
I think they could read the chart.
But really, there's a lot worse things that hospitals do. So if that's the worst, I feel like I got out pretty good. And but I would like to try a midwife and a birth center just because now I've been through it once. I know what to expect, because there is that unexpected with your first, especially. And I think for Cody it made him feel better just to be in a hospital in case anything went wrong. But now that we've been through it, now it's like, no, I'm good at birthing babies.
Yeah.
Like I'm an excellent gestator.
A learning experience.
That
just like anything else.
he would feel more comfortable somewhere else than at a birth center. And so so I think that's something we do differently. I would definitely keep Crystal. That's something, I love
Crystal. She's great.
She's just a fantastic
cool
human being.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to be Crystal. I want to be Crystal when I grow up. But definitely having a doula was one of the best decisions I felt like I made. The only thing now is I'm like, I can't have babies without a doula. I need my doula. Like, you don't understand. So we got to start saving for that. But
You have a nugget of wisdom to pass on? Something that maybe was kind of unexpected that
I
learned
think
along the way?
because I've thought a lot about my, like, I had a natural childbirth, and people have so many opinions about that. And like, for the first, it took me about 2 weeks to get to a place where I wasn't feeling so raw anymore, and I could look at it a little more objectively and say, no, this was a good thing. This was I would do it again. Like immediately after, I was like, I don't know if I'd do that again. I'm not sure.
The first thing you said to me was that was not empowering. I was like, maybe I don't feel that way now, but I think you'll probably change your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
As you heal, and absorb it and close back up.
It does. You do. You have to heal and take that time. But I think it was worth it. And I've had friends who just recently had babies, and she got the epidural, and she told me her birth story, and she's like, I didn't feel a thing from 4 to 10 centimeters. And I was like, I hate you. I know, I love her. I'm bringing her food after this, actually. Nice. But there was like a little bit of jealousy and a little bit of like, man, that sounds nice to not be in so much pain. But I've been reading a lot of Brené Brown too, and a lot of her work, talking about how when we numb the parts of ourselves that feel shame, that feel pain, that feel all those dark, terrible things, we also numb the parts of ourselves that feel the joy and the, all the good things, all the good things. And yes, it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also like the coolest. It was the most magical thing I've ever done.
Yeah, and I think that when women do have the epidurals for their first, a lot of times they look back and think, I want to experience this next time.
Yeah, and to each their, I think that's a choice that you have to make for yourself.
Absolutely.
That no one, and I don't begrudge any woman an epidural because I get it, girl. I get it. But it's having a natural childbirth. It did give me a lot of confidence, a lot of no, I pushed 9 pounds of human out of me without drugs. I will snap you like a twig. Bring it on,
right? Bring
it on. I feel like I could pretty much do anything after doing that. And
what a wonderful thing to know about yourself and feel.
Yeah, and it's. I wish people would just celebrate it more. I wish people would, if that's a choice that someone wants to make, we celebrate and we applaud people who train for Ironmans, and who climb mountains and stuff, and we're like, look at that human being, they're amazing. I trained for childbirth. I went to a 12-week class and I did exercises every day and I changed my diet and I worked really, really hard. And I achieved my goal, and that's awesome. That's awesome.
I completely agree.
And so finding people who will celebrate that with me has been really nice too. And that I think you can celebrate that without taking away or judging anyone else's story. It's fine. Your story is your story, you know. And so.
Yeah, I agree. It should be celebrated more. Absolutely. He's like, feed me, Mom.
You hungry?
Feed me, Mom.
Feed me, Seymour. I think he might need a diaper.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to add, share? Probably after we're done, you'll be like, oh yeah.
This is really good. Like once it cools down a little bit too, it's oh my gosh, lemonade. I could drink lemonade all day, every day.
My favorite.
Now that I know I can drink it hot, like a whole new world
Pulse
has opened up.
Bohemian, the Bee Buzz drink.
The Bee Buzz drink.
Little plug for Pulse Bohemian.
I try to feed you. I know.
It's hard being a baby.
Yeah, baby.
Well, thank you.
Telling your story. Thanks for listening to my story.
I love your story.
I didn't write it down, so this is good. I have some
There you go.
posterity.
Yes, absolutely. You're not paying attention. You're not paying attention at all, silly goose.
No, we reached the distracted stage of nursing.
Mm-hmm.
I do miss those moments. Oh, one thing, if you're at a hospital, steal all the ice packs.
There you go.
Steal every ice pack you can get your hands on.
They have good, like, kind of soft ones.
Yes.
They're not just like a hard.
They're
ice
like
pack.
soft and they mold to you. And I remember in that first week postpartum, he woke up one night and Cody and I were we just camped out in the living room for the first 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
And
Well, it's cozy.
Cody was asleep on the couch and I woke up and I like nursed him and changed him and got him to sleep all by myself and felt like a champ. I was like, I did that! I'm such a great mom! And I was like, I'm gonna treat myself to my last ice pack. And it's like this big. Just, treat yourself. Treat yourself. Yeah.
Alrighty. You feel better now? Just a quick little snack.
Just a nibble.
Just a quick little snacky. Silly goose. Alright. Well, thank you, everybody, for watching. There will be links in the description and links to other birth story videos and videos of people in the community, different care providers. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.